We had people move from APC to PDP and back and so forth. So, which is the point that I'm trying to make. You see, if we have a system, if we develop our system where elections are won and constituents work on the members, you want to only defect if you are going along with your constituency.
I'm wondering, you gentlemen, you've talked about, how politics is going to be external to some of the things that are happening, or, the reconvening.
No, the external is not that they will be they will not have any influence on what is happening. Yes. Of course, they have influence, which is why you have some people saying they will do what they want to do.
I want us to focus
but the overall is that the House, for instance, I can speak for the House of Representatives, the House will have a direction.
I'm just wondering, the letter itself, which you say that you're going to be considering, you're very careful to use the words consider the budget or the letter presented by the president for INEC's budget. You did not talk about approval, and a lot of people believe that is to resume and approve INEC's budget.
No, but the National Assembly cannot be a rubber stamp. It never happens anywhere.
Totally understand. How do you think? Because a lot of people are already saying that that letter itself, also was a little controversial, or they believe was a little provocative in the manner of the request, in the manner in which the request was presented. They think that that itself is going to cause a bit of rancor among members of the National Assembly. Do you see that happening?
What we are expecting the leadership to do will be to make available the letter and all the details of the environment to members. And on the strength and the merit of the request and the strength of the request, that decisions will be taken.
Were you offended when you saw that letter? I mean, when you heard about the letter? Well, the letter asking that you take
what the letter seeks to do
from your constitution,
which I think that even members of, on both sides of the divide in the National Assembly, the letter is simply saying the effect of the letter is that you don't have a right to add anything to the budget. So all that you have added to the budget, I have removed them. I'm going to use them to fund the elections.
Did you feel offended by it?
No, but we do have a right to add or remove. It's there in the Constitution.
I'm just asking. You are not answering my question.
No. We have a right to add or remove. So when he brings it, we'll look at it on the merit, on its merit. If there's a project that is in the budget that should not be in the budget, as he suggested, we will accept it. But if there's for instance, let me be clear about it. If, for instance, we needed to have a road, a major artery done that has been neglected all these years, and you take it out to fund the elections, I'll ask, why did you take my own road out, and you did not take the other road out?
Honorable Abubakar, do you agree with him? I mean, are you also thinking that this letter could cause some controversy when you resume?
Well, I wouldn't want to subscribe to the word controversy. Rather, within the ambit of, pursuant to Section 80, I think 81, 82 of the Consolidated Revenue Account as prescribed in the Constitution, Mr. President has given his own suggestion or estimate of how he wants it to be done. We received the letter. We will subject it to our norms. And, in so doing, if the letter was, provided inadequate, normally the agency of the government concerned will parley with the committee to be set up, and then they will provide the inadequacies. If we were satisfied at the committee level, we have what we call, they have to present a report for us to consider. During the consideration, all members will come. And I'm telling you, the right word to be used there, the letter is here, the leadership has agreed, we are reconvening for that purpose, like we said, anytime this week, we will do the needful.
Honorable Abubakar, when you first heard, about the amount in question, 242 billion naira for this election budget, what was your initial response? There's been plenty of kind of discussion around whether it's too much, whether or not that budget ought to factor in all the things that it factors in terms of security and the actual election management itself. What are your thoughts about it? Is it too much?
Well, personally, I'm giving my personal view. When I saw the budget, I tried to convince myself that yes, though it looked so much, But when I consider some other parameters and some indices that we are now developing our electoral processes, there are a lot of things that will have to come into play. And considering the recent electoral review that we did, the Electoral Act, introducing or making a card reader to be something, I mean of importance, unlike the previous elections. So when you put this, and then now with the increase of the registered voters, they averaged about 10 or thereabout million. And with the nature of the trend, things are very costly when you compare the dollar being our exchange rate to about 360 or thereabout. When you put all these things together, now you see that the cost might be justifiable. But yet, I am not yet convinced because the details were not there. I said when we come and we saw the details, then that is where I will give my final verdict and along with my colleagues.
Honorable Shawulu, what was your response? What was your thought? What was your assessment of the budget?
Well, unfortunately, the president vetoed the Electoral Act as amended. So the 2010 Electoral Act is vetoed it 2 times now. So even the issue of the card reader, if it is in the budget, we may have to reconsider whether it is needful, because the existing Supreme Court judgment is that card readers are alien to the Electoral Act, up to Supreme Court. Therefore, if provisions have been made for the card readers in the budget, you have to start thinking whether you need to put them there, because the president has vetoed the Electoral Act that gave life to the card readers. That is one consideration that will come up during the consideration. Secondly, the fact of the matter is that it is not good to speak or to assess a book from the cover. The letter that was read to us in the House is the cover. A cover letter is actually called a cover letter. The details of the environment, the details of the reductions and the rest of them have not been made available to us. So it will not be right for us to say this is right, this is wrong. The letter came, I think, on the last day of the sitting. So members don't even have access to it, which is why I say we are going to consider, because you don't expect members to come from their constituencies, resume on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and then they are given a letter, they pass the letter without looking at the details. To be quite irresponsible. So the details will be made available. On the basis of what has been made available, I think if you look at what has happened so far, there are very few requests that this president has brought that the House of Reps or the National Assembly did not agree to. As a matter of fact, this president is luckier than all the presidents that we've had in the past, including President Olusegun Obasanjo, because virtually everything that he has brought, the National Assembly has passed, which is why the controversy about this thing, I say, is more political, it's not about substance, because there's no request of his. You can talk about the Senate, the issues of confirmation of appointment in the Senate. Yes, there's a problem there. But even the previous presidents brought people that were rejected, and the presidents did not force the people on the National Assembly. So it's, let's wait and see the details. If there are convincing reasons, if they are good enough, they will be passed.
You talked about the card reader, which is a very important part. Some people would say that, the card reader was not exactly a part of our laws when we introduced it. INEC was very clear when it was first of all introduced that this would not be tenable in a court of law. This is just to guide and ensure that we are able to conduct a process that is credible. Now, if you now say that that is under threat because the president did not assent to a bill that will give life to the use of the card reader, and so you might be thinking of removing them from the
because
from the budget.
If the card reader,
would that be fair?
It would be very fair. If the card reader is not in the law, and its report is not admissible in court, then what is the use?
The question is, it was never in the law.
That is why we want it to be part of the law. So that every person, what we are saying is, in terms of free and fair election, is that human beings should vote. The votes should be done by human beings. And if the votes are to be done by human beings, the card reader is a system that validates that the person has actually come to the polling unit and is a registered voter should vote. So life was given, so we gave life to it. In the amended, so if you say, because what you are going to say is that the last election, 2015, for instance, some parts of the country, the card reader failed. Some parts of the country, people were aware that they should use incident forms. Some parts of the country, people were not aware.
Well, Honorable Shawulu, we're aware of the fact that when the president gave his opinion on that particular amendment bill, he was very clear that he had no issue with the provision that legitimized the card reader, and that he actually only had issue with the provision that was, of course, the controversial reordering of the elections.
Let me give you an update.
In response, I'm sorry. So one moment, please. In response, your House had agreed that it was going to send back that amendment bill to the president, expunging the reordering of elections, and then it would be signed into law. Is that not so?
He vetoed it.
Has he vetoed the last
amendment? Yes, he has vetoed it.
He has returned it?
Yes, he has been returned. And he returned it and said what was written in the letter, because I was privileged, I saw a copy of the letter that was sent to Senate President and Speaker. What was written there was that the wording of the law was such that it would be confusing. And so the whole law, he did not specify which sections of the amendments had ambiguous wordings. So that's why I said I wanted to give you an update. When we did exactly what
Honorable, I'm already being told that we're out of time. I just want to quickly get Honorable Abubakar's comment on that. Would you say that it would be okay to expunge the card reader then, because the president has vetoed it twice, according to him? We only know of once now. We don't, maybe that letter
the letter will be read.
Would you agree with expunging the card reader from the budget?
No.
Okay. Well, I think that's a fine place to leave it. He will not agree. That is one place where they have disagreed. So far, so good. They have been singing from the same hymn sheet. Well, we have to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Honorable Rima Shawulu is Chairman House Committee on the Army. He's a member of the PDP. We also had with us Honorable Yunus Abubakar, who is a member of the All Progressives Congress and the Chairman House Committee on the FRSC. Sunrise Daily continues in a moment. Please stay with us.